What's going on? Welcome to CoronaCon 2020, put on by Dave Anderson, the business bully. I have the privilege of being here tonight with a brilliant woman. Like really, she and Leslie Richardson. She's also known as the Black Day Trader, and she makes money doing something that most people don't even know about. Most people are totally unaware about, and she wants to talk with you about that tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I thank you all for coming to hear me talk. And like Michelle said, I wanted to come to talk to you guys about what it is that I do to make money. And it may be something that you guys have heard about or have not heard about, may have heard some myths about, but I wanted to get into that tonight because I think that it's important for people that look like us to take advantage of this opportunity. Um, so like my job is really simple. I'm a day trader, a stock investor, and I'm an advocate and a mentor, educator. I teach people the stock market, options trading, and the purpose of that is to educate, empower, and enrich people that look like me to use the same tools that the wealthy have used since the 1600s to make their money work for them. And that's the stock market, of course. So I think that people typically think when I say that, all of the wealthy people that I know are celebrities or they own this kind of business or that kind of business. And that's true. But the one thing that 100% of the wealthiest people in the world invest in the stock market. So what they've mastered that a lot of us have not mastered is leverage. They leverage their knowledge. They leverage their networks. They leverage people like you and I to work the cash registers at their business while they go out and enjoy life and spend time with their family and vacation in the islands and things like that. And in addition to that, they learn how to leverage their money. Um, so I'm not suggesting that anybody abandon their career that they love or that they stop doing whatever business it may be that they enjoy doing and that's creating, their income. What I'm suggesting is that whatever income you make from whatever it is that you do what the wealthy do. We do everything else that the wealthy do, except the one thing that allows them to do what they do, and that's leveraging their money in the stock market. Um, like I said, I read in my research that the first stock was traded in 1608. I can't remember what stock it was. I know that the New York Stock Exchange is hundreds of years old. So it has outlived, the recession, the Great Depression, and it will outlive all of us. It's the one thing that I know that will always be here. A lot of people that I know are laid off. As a matter of fact, most of the people that I know are laid off. And I don't know about you guys, but I never expected that I would see anything of this magnitude in my lifetime. But now that we have seen it, I feel that it's more important than it's ever been for as many of us as possible to learn this. Um, I just want to read something that I read in an article last night preparing for this. Income is people's paycheck. Wealth is what they own, stocks, bonds, and houses. And because the 1% hold half of the stock market wealth in the country, when the stock market goes up, the gap widens, the wealth gap widens. So what that's saying is just while doctors and lawyers and celebrities make a great deal of income, and some of us may have substantial or six-figure income, the difference between us and the wealthiest 1% of the people in the country is that no matter how much billions of dollars that Jeff Bezos is making with Amazon, he's investing some portion of that in the stock market. And that's a fact. We all know that to be true because there were just articles in the paper about him selling so many of his shares in Amazon. So that just goes to show you that no matter how much money wealthy people are making and whatever their primary role is in industry and in the economy, they invest that money in the stock market and leverage that money. And that allows them the freedom to spend time with their family and do all the things that I know I want to do. So the other thing is, and I want to kind of hear from you, Michelle, and from the people in the audience, why it is that we don't invest. And I think a lot of it is myths. So I took the liberty of pulling down like 10 of the top myths that keep people from investing in the stock market. And one of them is that you need a lot of money. And the fact is that used to be true, but the fact now is that there are platforms that you can start on for that I know of as little as $100. And I can remember just 2 years ago where you needed at least 500. And then the fees like $6.95 per trade were kind of prohibitive for people. But that's not the case anymore for whatever reason, for a ton of reasons. All of that stuff has changed over the last year, and you can get started investing in the stock market for as little as $100. Like I said, the stock market is too volatile is another one of the myths that this website listed. And yes, it is. But two things: volatility is good in the stock market, and the other thing is that you make money whether the stock market is going up or going down. So
How?
trading stock options, and that's a little bit more advanced than just your regular buying and holding stocks. So there are two parts of it. There is the generational wealth, which is a big reason for what I do, and as far as trying to teach others and trying to educate others on the stock market, is for generational wealth. I read, and I gotta pull it up, something else last night, and it made a lot of sense. And I don't think that we think about this, but I don't think that our lifestyles and the way that the system is set up really allows us to think about it. And what it basically says, like in researching the wealth gap is what they call it, is that, here it is, building up a large estate has generational effects because wealth is passed on to descendants. And then it went on to say, wealth inequality extends beyond one person's lifetime and perpetuates future cycles of inequality. So, what that's basically saying is, my mom lived a middle class lifestyle. So typically, I would not go beyond a middle class lifestyle. Or if I was raised in poverty, I typically would not, grow up as an adult and live a life and not be in poverty. And some of the ways that wealthy people eliminate those issues for themselves and for their descendants, and I'm talking about grandchildren, great grandchildren, and so on, is number one, life insurance. People, if you don't have life insurance, I would say after this whole coronavirus thing is over, to go get that, because that's one surefire way that I know to change the financial standing and the financial outlook and the prospects for your family members. And for me, it's like, when I think about my children and my grandchildren, like, I love my children and I can only imagine how I'm going to feel about my grandchildren. And the idea of being able to set my grandchildren up to where they'll never have to experience the things that my children and I have experienced as a single mother, or my great grandchildren to never have to go and ask anybody for a job or sit in an interview and that kind of thing, is huge. So one thing that changed my life was somebody, a financial advisor that I had years ago, kind of convinced me, or not even convinced me, but helped me to buy my first life insurance policy. And it changed my life because, my purpose is to make sure that my kids are okay. And I know now that no matter what happens, whether I work another 20 years, whether I make $1 million trading, my kids will be fine. So that's one part of it. But what this article was specifically speaking to was the fact that the wealthiest 1%, or even the wealthiest 10% of citizens in the United States pass down something to their children. And oftentimes it includes a bunch of shares and stocks. So when I'm investing, I'm thinking about my children, my grandchildren, and so forth and so on. The other part of that, Michelle, is trading. And trading is more of an active in and out, where that volatility comes in and becomes beneficial, and you can make money whether the market is going up or more up or down. In fact,
Have you always been trading, or like, what did you do? Did you do something before you started trading?
of course, I did a lot of things before I started trading. I'm trying to think if I should start from older and what. Well, anyway, first, I'm a retired mental health therapist, drug and alcohol counselor. Um, I've worked in community corrections, in methadone clinics, in Suboxone clinics, things of that nature. And I did a lot of stuff before that, but that was the one thing that was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Seriously. And
Yeah.
the pivotal moment was I was in the admissions office in the place that I was working at the time. And I had never gone into the admissions office because they had a window. So I would just go to the window and pass paperwork in or whatever. But for some reason, I think the door may have been open. And you know how in hotel rooms and in suites, they have that plaque on the back of the door? And sometimes it'll tell you what the typical rates are for the room that you're staying in, right? They had that. And I had never seen it because either the door was never open or I just never been inside there. But it said $1,000 a night. And I started doing math like, wait a minute, I got 38 people times 1,000 a night. They making $38,000 a night every day I show up. And I thought about like, so if I come 2 days, then they paid me for the year. And I swear, Michelle, it was that day that I decided, oh no,
Mm.
oh no. And so from there, I went and I signed up from real estate school. So for say 4 weeks, it might have been 6 weeks, but for the next 6 weeks, I worked that job and then I got off from there and I drove to New Jersey, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and sat for another, I don't know, like 6 hours probably to get my real estate license. And when I got my real estate license, I would create downtime for myself during the day because I had my own office, big, beautiful office. I would create downtime for myself during the day and I would shut the door and I would call real estate leads. Just being honest.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, and now keep in mind, I was already fed up. So that didn't
Right.
even last
Right.
long. I think I might have done that for another 4 weeks before I left. And it was just the thing where I'm the type of person that I cannot stay where I'm not happy or where I've worn out my welcome, or where I don't feel respected or appreciated, or I feel like you're making $1 million a month off of my presence here and then paying me with 2 days of revenue.
Right.
Go figure. Um, so I did real estate for a while and I had a Shopify store. Uh, because of the connection with real estate, I started like landscape and maintenance kind of thing. And I was making good money at like the height of my entrepreneurship. I think I grossed a little over $30,000 in a month.
Okay.
And it sounds good. It does. But I was working 18 hours a day.
Right.
And, I wasn't even working in the business. I was working on the business. So I had 2 employees. And what that taught me was that sometimes having employees can be more challenging or more frustrating than having a boss. Um, Go figure. Right?
Wow.
So, and then I told you that I don't stay in situations where I'm not happy or, it's just not working. So
Yeah.
one day I had 2 employees and then I didn't have 2 employees anymore.
Well,
Um,
how did you transition to trading? Did you like just pick up a book, or how did you
so
get there?
right around that time, well, actually what happened was, um, I always wanted to be a day trader from like 20 years ago. And like say 5 or 6 years ago, probably 6 years ago, Forex trading became the trend on Facebook. And everybody was selling a $500 training for Forex. So I bought several of those. And I achieved some success with Forex. But I always was aware of this gentleman named James Tompkins that said that he taught people the stock market. Um, so going through my ups and downs with Forex, I ended up enrolling in this class called the abacus. And it changed everything. It changed everything because the knowledge that I learned in the abacus was just so comprehensive, um, that it just became easy. And the more I stuck with the learning process, the easier it became. And Now my life is not so hectic. Um, Let me see if I'm missing anything here on my outline. But now my life is not so hectic. Um, because everything that I do, I can do from home. So the reality is that I do everything that we just discussed when I was talking about what the wealthiest 1% or 10% do. And that's not to say that I'm anywhere close to the wealthiest 1% or 2%, but I like my chances.
Right.
Um, I like my chances much better than I did working 18 hours, you know, 6 days a week, making $30,000 a month and trying to get there that way. But I leverage my knowledge, and that's a source of income. I leverage people, but not in the way that the wealthiest 1% do. Um, I leverage my money. Whatever revenue that it is that I make from like datafortraders.com is somewhere that I sell analytics, reports on things that I've analyzed for traders and investors who don't have the time and the freedom that I do to spend the time that I do, or the desire, quite frankly, to do research.
Talk
So
to me
that's
about talk to me about research and analysis. Like, what does that look like? Like a typical day, when you do that, what does that look like?
I'm kind of obsessed with research and analysis just in general. I'm the Google queen. Um, but I guess where it starts is you learn what, first of all, what you need to be looking for, what's relevant, um, just in so many words, or to get to the point, like what things move the stock market, what things are going to affect the economy today or in the next 6 months, and you find out what those things are, and then you get up and you look for those things. If you're a trader, you get up and you look for those things, and then you take a trade based on information that you know, and that's a process, and that's kind of second nature to you, and most times you'll have success. um but because research is one of my streams of revenue, my research is a lot more extensive than other people's maybe, but it does not have to be a long drawn out process. The difficult part and the time consuming part is having the patience and the discipline to learn those steps, and to learn what to look for, and how to know what's a good investment on what day, or based on what cycle we are in the economy. um like now we're in a correction. So you get to the point where if you spend the time with the information or the course or whatever it is, however it is that you go about learning, I would suggest the same way I learn because it's worked well for me, um, is that you spend that time up front learning what it is that you need to be looking for, um, taking the guesswork out of the stock market. People say that it's gambling. So you can eliminate that gambling idea by knowing what the stock market is going to do in response to certain things. You look for those things and then you trade based on your knowledge.
I think most of us, like, our understanding of trading comes from, like, you remember that movie Trading Places, or like The Wolf of Wall Street? So you saying it's nothing like that?
First, let me say I don't watch TV, and usually when people ask me about movies, if they're like less than 20 years old, I probably haven't seen them. Um, so I don't know. I don't know, but I can tell you what I did today. Today, I woke up at like probably 9 o'clock. I scrolled through my phone because the news comes to my phone. I looked at a couple stock charts. I think it was like 9:30 probably. I took a trade. 9:45, I sold that trade, and I could have quit there. But then my daughter was like, Mom, can you buy me some bundles and a frontal? All I want to do is make 15% a day because I don't have a lot of expenses. Um, so 15% a day, I'm good. And then so she said that, and I'm like, wait, somebody else gonna have to give me 15% to pay for these bundles. So probably around 2 o'clock, I guess I spent another 15 minutes in a trade.
Wait, when
Um,
you say 15%, 15% of what?
so in on the trading side of it, is oh, so for example, with an options trade, options contracts are 100 shares of a company, and I can't really explain this in the detail that people would need to understand. But say if a trade cost me $100 to get in.
Talk to me
um
like I'm a talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old.
Okay. I'm just going to use numbers and give you an example just to explain what I mean by the 15%.
Okay.
And I'm gonna use small numbers because I don't want anybody to be intimidated by the idea that they have to have a whole lot of money to get started or to do this. What you need is a whole lot of knowledge and a whole lot of skill. But
Okay.
anyway, so $100 trade. When I 15% profit on that is I need to get that $100 to $115. And it
Okay.
doesn't sound like a lot. Um, but then there's a thing called compounding. But then if you think about $1,000 trade, you make 15%, you have $1,150. You made $150 for the day. I know that if I can do that 5 days a week, I can pay all of my expenses. Um, and then I shared earlier in the group the compounding charts, and it's really amazing that you can start with $500,000, and if you consistently are disciplined and just make 15% on your $1,000 per week, which means that next week you would need to be starting with $1,150.
Mm-hmm.
And just leave that money there and make 15% on it every week for 52 weeks, you can turn $500 into six figures. Um,
Wow.
Yep, it's in the group. I don't remember the numbers because all I'm focused on is just getting my 15%. I know that whatever number is at the top of that chart, I'll get there if I just focus on getting the 15%. And it's really easy. I told you I did it twice today in 30 minutes.
Let me
Um,
ask you this. So it seems like, I mean, obviously, as a profession, this works in terms of making money. Like, any other skills or just kind of mindset you would you say that you gained from being a trader?
um, that's a good question. And I really can't think of, I think that I understand what you're asking, but I think that what it is it was a skill or mindset that I had before I found out about trading and investing that led me to be open to trading and investing. So, I told you I'm like not going to do anything that I'm not comfortable with. I enjoyed, for the most part, the jobs that I've had and working with the people that I work with, but there was always something about the corporation or the bureaucracy or whatever that just made it a not ideal situation. And then being a single parent, um, you know, just work is a lot. I really don't know how people do it because I wasn't successful with it as a methadone counselor trying to parent two teenage girls. So having all of that experience and always being aware that there was something more and that I deserved that something more has led me to try a bunch of things like Shopify and real estate, being a realtor and real estate investing and flipping a house and wholesaling a bunch of houses. But it was always like, no, this is not it. No, this is not it. No, this is not it. And to be honest, I avoided, even after I had the knowledge, I avoided trading and investing for a lot of reasons. And then one day I can remember I was at a light a block from here. And it occurred to me, you're doing all of this stuff, calling yourself taking the easy way. But the only easy thing that you've ever seen is trading. And then I focused 100% on the trading and the investing. And just to give you an idea, um, we took a Bitcoin crypto class in 2017. And in that time, I have, so since 2017, I've been able um, to accumulate like six figures worth of different cryptocurrencies. Now, granted, some cryptocurrencies are less than a penny, but I've got
Hmm.
like half a million cryptocurrencies. I got some Bitcoin in 2017 before Bitcoin went to $20,000. I
Whoa.
have, yep, I have shareholders' rights. I have ownership in 80 corporations from the investing side, from my stock side. And it just puts me in a position where when the whole world is crazy and, I'm just here in my room and I'm not bragging, but it just is a great feeling. And the reason why I'm here is because I want everybody to have the same feeling and the same security.
So
Um,
all right, so you like, I mean, we're talking about making money in the stock market, right? And you mentioned stock, but then you mentioned a whole bunch of other things. So what are some of the other ways that you can make money in investing or the stock market other than buying and selling stock?
Okay, so I talked a little bit about leveraging knowledge because, excuse me, there's another statistic that I had up here that says that 54% of people in the country own stocks. So that means 46% of the people in the country do not know how. And then some of the reasons why they don't is because they feel like it's too hard, or I've seen classes that are $10,000, so it may be too expensive for them to learn. But so in that regard, because I have the knowledge and because I do know how to do these things and how to navigate the stock market, 46% of the company may be willing to learn. And like I said, I've seen classes up with 10 grand. So we don't teach for free, but it's not 10 grand. It's not anywhere close to 10 grand.
Do you have a class yourself?
I am a member of the abacus, and I'm an abacus team leader.
Okay.
So for beginners, for anybody who wants to learn the basics of the stock market and what it is that I'm even talking about and how they can start to do it too.
Tell me more about that.
The abacus course.
Yeah, like how long is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is it's like 70 videos, and I've seen people go through those 70 videos in 3 weeks. And then I've seen people have them for 3 months and not complete them. So it kind of depends on you. But what I suggest is that even if you do get through the videos in 3 weeks, is that you take the rest of that 3 months to just really learn the information, really absorb the information, and really know how to use the information in the market. So when you're looking at the news or looking at stock charts or thinking about the stuff that's going on in the economy, it'll click to you and say, wait, I need to invest in Clorox or peroxide or whatever the case may be based on what's going on in the economy. One thing I'll say that has made me a lot of money since this has been going on is a beer stock. And I know that from the abacus because we were told in the abacus that, when things like this happen, people buy alcohol. And I can see it 2 miles from my house where there are lines around the corner.
Wow.
So yeah, one thing like, oh, man, I'm up 80% on a beer stock, but that's something that I've been holding for years and it was never up 80% until now. But I wouldn't have known that if I had not gone through the abacus. I shared this with somebody earlier. That I've never seen a class that teaches you this kind of stuff. And she was like, yeah, I can't say that I have either. And the reason that I was talking to her is because she was inquiring about the class and enrolling in the class. And it was something that we agreed that was missing in other courses, even those courses that cost thousands of dollars. But, the other thing that I like about it is it's by somebody that looks like me. James could be my dad. So it's not complicated at all anyway, but I think that people overcomplicated it. But it helped me that I was hearing it from someone who spoke my language and who could use examples that I would understand. So worst case scenario, 90 days. You can finish it in 3 weeks. You should take 90 days because a lot of the reason that I'm able to do the things I do as far as using what I learned to create other sources of income is because I learned that stuff really well up front. And then it costs $100 to get started investing at this point. So our final project in that course, and it's 5 phases, 70 videos, 4 exams. And then the 5th phase, it finishes with the capstone project that's called the Circle of 20. And that is you demonstrating your knowledge and your understanding of what you learned watching the 70 videos by going out and researching and analyzing the financial statements and different things of the Fortune 500 companies and just coming back to us with a portfolio of 20 companies with the idea that these 20 companies are going to be long-term investments that I'm going to own forever. And the dividends from these companies are going to ensure that my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nobody else ever in the future of my family has to work for anyone or struggle.
So I've used primarily like Thinkorswim, TD Ameritrade's platform. I made a face. I was going to ask what platform do you use or do you recommend, and why? And then why'd you make a face?
I will drop a bunch of links when we get off of here. The reason, because so for investing, it's kind of all the same. TD Ameritrade, E-Trade. I have these accounts: TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, E-Trade. I think that's all the major brokerages that I have. So for
Yeah.
just going on there and buying stock, they're all great. But I don't like them because for trading, it's just too complicated to get in and out of your trades. Like I don't want to
Okay.
have to make 10 clicks to close this trade when I'm in profit.
Right.
But so for getting started investing, so when you finish this circle of 20 and I look it over and the founder of the abacus looks it over and he says, yes, this is a great circle of 20, this is a great portfolio, I can tell this person really knows what they're doing. I recommend that people download an app called M1,
Okay.
and you put all of those 20 stocks in what they call a pie, and all you need is $100. And with that $100, and one is going to take it and divide it up amongst your 20 stocks, so 5% to each one, or however you allocate it. And you own stocks, you own fractional shares of 20 companies. So
So
yeah.
all right. One thing that's interesting, like you're saying, you come with your 20, like there's no push to be like, you got to do this. Like I guess it sounds like there's so many stocks that everybody could have their own kind of portfolio without having what other people have and still do fine.
Exactly. So Fortune 500 companies are the largest, most long, companies that have existed the longest in this country, who make the most money in this country. So you've got 500 of those. You're going to see all different kinds of portfolios, and people have their interests. Like I like defense stocks. That's my thing. So I got a whole portfolio full of defense stocks. Um, I'm not, when I was doing that research, I was like, damn, how many people do our government buy guns from? But anyway, that's another story. So out of those 500 companies, you can find out of my original 20, 13, 14 of them might be doing really well. That beer stock is up 80%. I, I own shares in Clorox. Clorox is doing tremendously well right now for obvious reasons. But everybody finds different things for different reasons. But out of 500 companies, there are a ton of them that will do well in this kind of market. And when I say this kind of market, like the stock market has been tanking since late February. So there's some of them that withstand that like another thing, toilet paper, things that people are going to buy no matter what's going on, if they can. So there are stocks that no matter what the market is doing, perform well. But it's not hard to pick winners when you have 500 to pick from, if you know how to pick them.
Now, when you say you're 20, do you ever find yourself changing out any of those 20, or do you kind of lock those in and they pretty much stay?
Um, I think that just depends on people or situations. I made some changes in my original 20 because now that I'm up to 80, I was trying to kind of make them focus. So I have one that's just all defense and aerospace. I have one that's 5G and blockchain. Um, and then I have one that's more riskier, newer IPO companies. So I moved some stuff around.
What's an
But
IPO? Okay.
initial, excuse me, public offering.
Okay.
And one of the recent ones I can think about is Uber.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, yeah.
so yeah, an initial public offering is when corporations decide that they're going to offer shares of their company to the general public, and they do that to generate capital to do whatever, expand, um, go into new markets, but generally to generate capital to grow their business.
If they're new, how do you do research on them?
Um, so there's a formula. No, I'm just kidding. But that's something that's taught. That's a whole
Oh, okay.
in the abacus course, is what to look for in terms of IPOs. And you would think like, well, how, like you asked, how would I know? But there are things, and I can't even believe it still, there are things that you can look for that give you a really good indication of um, the potential of these new companies.
you keep going back to the abacus, what, yeah, like, would you say that that's kind of the bedrock of your financial knowledge? And would you have been able to accumulate the knowledge that you have without the abacus?
Um, so I told you I'd taken a lot of courses prior to taking the abacus. And the difference, I guess, is those courses had their function and their role. Like I'm an excellent technical analyst. And actually, I trade charts and candlesticks and candle patterns and stuff. That's another area that I train people in. Um, but none of those courses
So
that I
you,
took.
so you just to clarify, so you do like health stuff, like you said, candlesticks?
No. Okay, so the charts are, I call it the language. The language of the charts is candlesticks. Like we write things in letters and words. The price data, I guess, for the corporations is expressed on the charts in candlesticks.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Just like what it looks like.
right.
Okay.
So um I learned that in a lot of different places, but the difference with the abacus was, yes, that it did give me that macro perspective on um why certain things, why if President Trump says that this drug is going to do that, or this company is selling all these masks or whatever, why that stock will run up 10 or 20% in the next 15 minutes. It helped me to understand why everything that's going on now is going on, whereas those other courses that I took before did not. So I think that, and I say this to people all the time, if you want to be good, then, you know, do whatever. But if you want to be great, then you should probably take the abacus core. And it's not selling. And that's one thing. I never wanted to be known as a salesperson. So I was in the abacus for 5 years before I mentioned it to anyone, because I didn't want to be known as a multi-level marketer, or I'm
Mm.
trying to sell somebody something. Um, but then I was like, man, this is righteous. Like I got all this Bitcoin, I got cryptocurrencies, I got all of these shares, and I'm not sharing this information with people because of my ego.
Mm.
Um, so, but the beauty of it is I don't have to sell anything. Listen, I'm telling you what I have, I'm telling you what my experience was, I'm telling you a little bit about what it's helped me to do. And if you want it, I'm listen, congratulations. This is probably one of the best decisions that you'll ever make. But if you don't, that's fine, because I'm able to make money in the stock market. I want to help you. I hope that you allow me to help you and show you how to do it as well. But, I don't need to sell anything to anybody. I
So it
hope that
has
you.
like, yeah, so it has like an MLM structure, but you can take it and do what you need to do with it with no regard to that part of it if you like.
Right. So this is the MLM structure part of it, I guess, is that the founder came up with this idea because he recognized through his experience, and I don't know, he may be 60, 50, 60, somewhere in there, but he recognized through his experience and through the things that he's seen, I guess, in the military and as a veteran, and just observing life, that if something wasn't done to change or to close the wealth gap, or to bridge the gap between the wealthiest people in America and those that tend to be in the worst states of poverty, then it didn't look good for us 20 years from now. So his goal is just to teach as many people as you can, to arm as many people as you can with this information, and to do it in such a way that it sets them free. But in understanding how the world works, I guess, he recognized that nobody is going to do all of this because it is a lot for free. So, if you're able to, if you qualify to by doing a good circle of 20, and you're able and you want to, there is that other stream of income. In addition to being able to leverage your knowledge, you can leverage the course and have a nice stream of income from that, from introducing other people to the course.
Okay. All right. And then what do you do personally in terms of leveraging your knowledge?
So few things. I guess the thing that
And
I'm
then
most
where can people find you for that? Just, as you answer.
thing that I'm most passionate about is, and it's on my website, www.datafortraders.com, is I provide research and analytics reports and data for traders and investors, or even new investors that are not quite sure what to invest in, or that don't have the time, that have the knowledge but don't have the time to do the research. So I sell data products. So that's one of the things that I do. Um, and then I run a chat group, and I will also be launching a technical trading academy, which is where I'm going to teach people about the other side, which is the candlesticks and how to read the charts. Aside from, or in addition to, the news and stuff that we already talked about, it shows you how to read the charts. So that, but other than that, I mean, whatever I want to do, I try not to do a lot, and I do what I'm good at and what I enjoy, and that's the research part of it and helping people to be better traders. Because
Okay, so gotcha. So, based on what the market's doing right now and what things are looking like what do you think people should capitalize on right away to advance themselves?
for anybody that is involved, well, no, I guess that wouldn't apply to them. I would suggest that you capitalize on the abacus course. And I'm serious, at www.theblackdaytrader.com. I wouldn't advise anybody to run out and invest in anything without having a strong foundation and some knowledge of what they're supposed to be doing. And it could take as long as you want it to take, or as short as you want it to take. People have done it in 3 weeks. So I would say in 5, 6 weeks, you could have a great circle of 20, depending on how much time you devote to the course um, over the next 6 weeks. And the other thing is, I wrote an ebook that covers a lot of this stuff. I didn't get to ask, but I wanted to talk about, like, if you invest and why you don't, because I wanted to, like, kind of bust the myths and arm people with some facts. So when people who probably don't know anything about the stock market, or were scared out of the stock market by people who do know about the stock market and want you to be scared out of the stock market, you're armed with some facts. But since we don't have time to get into all of those, I wrote an ebook, and it's free, and you guys can download it at that same website, www.theblackdaytrader.com. And the abacus course is also available there for 50% off. Um, the already low price, I just was looking and saw a class for 7,000. Ours is not even 1,000. So, but please
Wow.
go download the ebook.
Okay. All right. Now, in general, how much would be wise for somebody to start investing? And then, like me, like I'm in my 40s, like do I need to be very aggressive with how I invest?
So, what was the first part of the question? You got me with that
About how
second
much
part.
should you, yeah, about how much should you start to invest? Like how much do you need to start?
Um, I would say $100, and that's because that's the lowest minimum that I'm aware of. If it was
Okay.
$20, I would say $20. But because I'm not aware of anywhere where you can, oh, like, no, I'm sorry. I do believe that on Cash App and another app,
It's like Robin Hood.
Robinhood, and I think there's another one. On those apps, you probably can start to buy stock
So like
for.
Acorn and Stash. I
There
think
you
that's
go.
the more.
Yep.
Yeah.
But M1, where I recommend you go, $100.
Hmm.
It's about starting more than it is about how much you start with. And then one thing that's helped me is I'm consistent. No matter what's going on, no matter what bill, that circle of 20 gets funded every week. Um, and now the other portfolios get funded every week, no matter what's going on. So start small, start wherever you got to start, but just start and be consistent. And
And
then
then being a little bit older, like, yeah.
I'm a little bit older too. Um, so I think that that just depends on the person. That is something that I would say that you should read about, and kind of, there's some assessments that you can take online to determine what risk profile is best for you. But I would say that I have a balance. Like those defense stocks, those defense companies are not going to go anywhere as long as the army keeps buying guns. So
Mhm.
that's kind of a safer investment. But then I have the portfolio that I was telling you about where it's like a bunch of new stuff. Luck and Coffee was in there. And then we found out that they falsified a bunch of their revenue last year, whatever. So, but I'm covered with the other 79 stocks. Um,
Right.
I got a lot of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a riskier investment. So you would have to determine for yourself where you want to put your money. But um and it also depends on your timeline. I'm part of what I'm doing is investing for my great grandkids. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I know. Okay, so one thing I've been really wanting to make happen for years is I want my kids to actually start investing. So yeah, I want to invest and do stuff for them, but like I want to be the parent to be like, oh, somebody's like, oh, my kid got a job at McDonald's, and I'm like, my kid day trades. Like, is that a possibility, or is that just a pipe dream I got?
Okay, so that I don't even know how I forgot to mention that. My daughter, she's 19 now. My 19-year-old daughter owns cryptocurrency. My 19-year-old daughter has a circle of 20. And it took, some poking, some prodding, some fussing over the years to get her to finish it. But she's a
Yeah.
college student and she was working. But she's had Bitcoin for as long as I've had. Um, so I would say, and I think it's been said besides me, that like as young as 10 years old, can learn from the abacus videos. And because I have the background of being a child therapist and a child counselor, I also have ways of helping you adapt it to children that age and incentivizing them to want to learn the information.
Nice, nice. Listen, this is, and I mean, is this a good time to invest? I mean, I know it's good for you because you're already in it and you know what you're doing.
Right.
But for someone to learn, like, is this a good time or should we wait until better times or?
So I did some research last night too on like I was trying to find a number on how many millionaires were created in the last 2000. It was like 2007 to 2009, but they call it the 2008 Great Recession because this is the time. I didn't know that I would ever get this opportunity, but to be able to buy a stock that was just $300 at $100 or $150, knowing that this is not going to go on forever. What happened in 2008 with the Great Recession was like maybe 15 months, and then the stocks doubled in price again. So this is a great time to be investing. Um,
So everything's on sale is what you're saying.
Basically. And I don't know about you, but when stuff that I like is on sale, you know, try to get as much of it as I can.
Indeed.
Um, but so now is a great time to take the course or any course that will teach you how to know what to invest in right now, because it might be another 10 or 20 years before we see a correction or an occurrence in the stock market where we get this kind of clearance sale on stocks again.
When you say
Um,
correction, yeah, you said that more than once. Define that.
Yeah. So my perspective is that, and this is like a whole nother thing, but my perspective is that what's happening with the economy and what's happening with the stock market now is more a natural phenomenon of the stock market, and it's appropriate based on how inflated the stock market was than it is about anything that's going on with coronavirus. So not to say that coronavirus is not having its impact, but I'm saying that we were already at a point where the slightest little thing would have
Okay.
made the market correct, which is just the price is declining.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow.
So
Wow. That's,
everyone just I
yeah,
don't
run them all your digits though. Make sure run them all your digits before you.
don't have to learn from us. I recommend that you do learn from the abacus because hundreds of us have had great experiences. I'm doing pretty well, but there are tons of people that are doing better than me. And just in terms of how many assets we own now, I want everybody to please download my ebook, and it's called Getting on the Right Side of the Wealth Gap. And it's written with love, and it's full of tons of information that I think that if you're on the fence, will push you over the fence and make you seek information from someone. And that is available at www.theblackdaytrader.com. Please
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok,
follow my
Snapchat.
Facebook is also theblackdaytrader.com. My
Hmm.
Instagram is Black Day Trader One.
Okay.
Um, and I have all of those other things, and you can always find me with the hashtag abacus or the hashtag the Black Day Trader on any social media.
Spell abacus just in case somebody wants to look
Um,
right now.
ABAKUAS. And I will drop it in the comments on Facebook. A nice, concise presentation that runs down for you everything that you can expect to learn in the abacus. And not only that, but learn as one of my mentees on my team what you can expect from us. So I'll drop that and some other links. Like I'll drop an M1 link for anybody that wants to see what that looks like. Um, www.datafortraders.com/ABAKUAS, and theblackdaytraders.com to download the free ebook.
Good stuff. I think we should wrap because if you tell them any more, you're gonna have to cash app her.
I thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. You have a good night.
All right, Leslie.